Hi Morgan,
Hi, Karima.
how are you?
I'm so good.
I'm so honored to have you on my podcast today. I've literally been following you for about a year. Some people might say you've got quite controversial views. Some people might say, you're chatting facts. You are a coach and transformation expert.
Yes.
So today I wanted to sort of talk to you exactly about that. I want to talk about transformation. So you used to be vegan and now you're not.
Hmm.
You have ADHD and you've been taking Adderall medication. So you used to take medication, now you don't, and you're completely against it. And then the last one is you used to be a feminist and now you're not. So I
Hmm.
kind of want to sort of talk about, your journeys through these three subjects. Let's just start with veganism. A couple of weeks ago, I had one of my friends, Eshna, on my podcast. She's opposite to you. So she was like a meat eater her whole life.
Mm.
And during her final year of uni, she just sort of became vegan. And she said that, it's been the best thing that's ever happened to her. She has PCOS, and in her case, obviously everybody's different, but in her case, her symptoms sort of went away, her periods became regular. So for her story with veganism, it's become quite a good thing, but yours was like the opposite. So I think it's quite cool to see like that contrast, because like we said, everybody is different and all that stuff. So if you want to tell me a little bit about, because you were vegan for about 20 years, if I'm right?
Yeah, vegan vegetarian. I was full vegan for like three, and then I hadn't eaten red meat for 20 years before I started eating it again.
Because I remember I was watching your YouTube videos about veganism, and like you said, you were vegetarian for a long time and then vegan for a little bit. And then you said that you started to like question everything. So what was that like turning point of like, actually, no, I need to eat meat again?
Yeah, so it's a good question. The turning point, I guess. I did the vegan thing like for 3 years, really wholeheartedly. Like I had up until that point been like vegetarian, pescatarian. I tried veganism, like I was just kind of in and out of it, and literally hadn't eaten red meat for like 20 years. I think I became a vegetarian like one Thanksgiving dinner when I was like 10. Like I had a vegan uncle
10.
visiting, yeah, and he like pointed out
Oh.
what the turkey was, and I was like, oh my God, I really felt for the animals. I was like the kind of
Mm.
kid who like cried when she saw roadkill. Like I was really sensitive.
Yeah.
So I just cut out all like animal like meat. Eventually, like just cut everything out, and I was doing that for like 3 years and I was feeling like okay. But like again, my baseline was such that like it was a body that hadn't been eating red meat for a certain amount of time. I was a pescatarian for the majority of that though. So I had
Mhm.
like some of those nutrients. Um, but yeah, basically one day I fell asleep in the middle of the day after eating chickpeas. And I was so exhausted, and I was just like reflecting on the past few months and the past year. And I was like, I've been like sick. I've been like getting sick every month. And I was just not like well. I was sleeping. I had no energy to. I would like go to work and I would come home and immediately get in my bed. And like
Mm.
that was my routine. So I was just like for the first time started listening to my body. I had kind of started my feminine embodiment journey, and yeah, I was just like way more tuned in. And so I just asked her. I like woke up from this nap and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, why am I getting drowsy after eating chickpeas? Like, that's not normal. So
Mm.
I just tuned in and I was like, what do you need, bitch? Like, what do you need?
Like what your
And
body was calling for, basically.
yeah, and I just like
Mm.
really like was still and silent, and I just heard her like salmon, like get me salmon. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. And it was the first time I had fish in like 3 years, and
My
I took
gosh.
my little butt to Trader Joe's. I got some lox and I got some Greek yogurt. Felt so much better after that. It was like this thing, like my body started to kind of relax. And then it was really interesting. I didn't actually connect this until kind of after I filmed those YouTube videos. And I probably didn't want to put this on the internet, but like now I don't care. I talk about way worse things. Mushrooms with a girlfriend. And it was
Yeah.
like early on and like kind of dabbling in psychedelic therapy or whatever. And I did them with my friend. And I remember like going into the bathroom and looking at myself in the mirror and like kind of tweaking out, being like, I don't recognize myself. I'm like sat like pale and like soft. I was just like not, I was like, what? This is not your body. Like what? Like it freaked me out. And the
Mm.
whole night I kept asking myself, like, what are you going to eat, Morgan? You're not eating right. Like what? Because at this point I was a vegan. I wasn't eating grains or gluten or like I was so restrictive in my diet because like I was treating my ADHD holistically at that
Mm.
point. So the whole night I just kept asking, what are you going to eat? What are you going to eat? And I was like, water fast. Like, I'll just not eat. Like, I just didn't have any food that I could eat. But eventually, I think it was like the next week or the week after, like I was still eating my salmon and just in this like holding pattern. And I met this girl who used to be a vegan, and she lost like all of the hair on the back of her head. Like she had a really bad experience with it. And she was carnivore to heal her gut. And I was like, I literally told her, I was like, that's a lot of meat. I don't think I could eat that much meat. That's insane. It like freaked me out. But I could not deny that there was like a vegan in my reality who was healing her body with meat. I was like, this is totally wild, but like, okay, like I'm open. Cause at that point, I had so many other belief systems that just were interrupted. So it took me about a month to work up to eating red meat. And I had to literally like, I started with like turkey cold cuts and chicken, and I would wrap it in lettuce and put mustard. Like I would wrap it in plants to like kind of ease my mind. Cause a lot of it is like mental, like any vegans or vegetarians listening, if you're, you know, feeling sick or you're not doing well and you're thinking about eating meat, but it freaks you out, like there's a way to go slow.
Like a transition period. Otherwise it's a shock to your body, right?
It's not a shock to your body, but like I still to this day take digestive enzymes for red meat, because you kind of lose them in your gut after a while. So and I have heard some vegetarians like they'll try to eat chicken again, but they won't be able to digest it. So they're like, oh, it's a sign, like I can't eat it. It's like, no, you just don't have the enzymes. Like it's more mental than anything. Like I was terrified of eating red meat. Like at one point I was with a girlfriend and she like tried giving me some of her burger, and I thought I was gonna like cry and vomit at the same time. I was like so freaked out. But eventually I had a friend ask me like what my favorite food was when I was a kid, like before I became vegan, and it was hot dogs, because I was like 8 years old. And I was with a company at the time, and we like happened to go to this like famous hot dog place. So that's the first time I ate red meat, and it was like amazing. Like I was on drugs. I was like, I have so much energy. Like there's no way this can be evil if like my body like needs it and is responding so well. So
oh my God. So then you've just been a meat eater ever since?
Yeah. So after that, I like I transitioned to like full carnivore slowly, but like I was so addicted to like carbs and sugar at that point, because when you're vegan, like you're eating so many carbs and sugar all the time. So I transitioned, and I literally had to like pray to God. Like literally it took me 3 weeks to like fully get off of like sugars and stuff and fruits, because I was so addicted to it. I would like pray. I felt like a meth addict. Like I couldn't go a day without eating like some little sweet thing or fruit or whatever. And eventually it stuck, and I ate just steak basically for a few months. And I'm at the point now, though, I will say, like, I think do whatever's great for your body. For me, these like extreme diets and restriction, whatever, it's got to be too much. So I'm about like 85% like carnivore today, but I still eat fruit, and if there's like stuff on the table, like I'll pick at it, and I don't beat myself up. So
It's so funny because like on your Instagram, I always see steaks and stuff now.
Lots of steak. Lots of steak dinners.
I was going to ask you, so obviously what was that transition period like mentally? Because that must have been a lot of, whether that's resilience, a lot of like discipline, and then how did it affect you physically as well? Because you said that you were sick one day, like when you were vegan, you were sick quite a lot. And how does that affect you now? Like how are you feeling physically and mentally now?
I'm feeling great. I mean, 2022 was like its own thing. Like it was like, honestly, that's a whole separate thing. But I will tell you, okay, I'm not alone. I've heard some people say like same, which I'm sorry, but also glad that it's not just me.
No, of course not. Don't worry.
When I was eating all that, like when I had transitioned initially, it was wild. So I did not anticipate any mental health things. I was just like, I just need to like try this out. Like I'm a big self-experimenter. I know that there's like a lot of like studies and this online. I'm like, great, I'm going to try it for myself and come up with my own conclusions, because like I'm my own authority. So I, during that time, like was not expecting anything, but like looking back, and also in the moment, like I was so extroverted. I was going out to like steakhouse bars, like all the time after work, meeting all these people. Like I would get home so late. Like I had so much energy, like, which was such a contrast from like where it was before, where I had none. And I was just like going home and crawling in bed. My anxiety was literally the best probably it's ever been to date. Like my anxiety was on zero. Like I was so, just calm and happy. I didn't need to sleep a lot. Like I maybe slept for like 5 or 6 hours, but was very well rested. Like it was amazing. And that was also information to me to be like, this is good. Like your body likes this. Like this is what you needed. I started lifting weights and like putting on muscle
Oh
for the
wow.
first time. Yeah, I like never knew that like the reason why my body was a certain way, like it's because I just didn't have any fucking muscle because I wasn't eating any protein. And I think my background, like I have an O negative blood type and like German, Russian, whatever ancestry. So it's like I need a lot of meat. I
Yeah.
wasn't eating it. I was eating the complete opposite for what my body needed, like basically my whole life. So I think she was very happy when I
Oh,
started
amazing.
transitioning.
That's so nice. I like that you said that you listen to your body, like you listen to what she wants, what she's feeling. You don't ignore that.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly has been like one of the biggest transformations in my life. Like, I feel, when I was in New York and I was on Adderall and I was drinking coffee every day and I was in this like hustle, go mindset, which a lot of people live in my masculine energy, right? It's a very mental space. And I would even joke, like I have ancient tweets, like sometimes I forget that I have a body because I was so in my head. I'm such an overthinker, very analytical, and never really had a relationship to my body. I was like very dissociated. And whenever you do things like that stimulate your nervous system, like Adderall and coffee in New York City in general, it's like you are not in your body. Like your nervous system's jacked up until you shoot into your head. So I started this feminine embodiment journey with my now mentor and literally like started coming back into my body. I really started coming back into my body when I got off of Adderall and started taking CBD, but like very conscious of it and like forming a relationship with her, like during the feminine embodiment journey. And it totally changed my life and it's like helped all my subsequent like transformations. And yeah, it's something we can't
Amazing.
ignore. Yeah.
That's so nice. I mean, speaking of Adderall, so obviously how old were you when you got diagnosed with ADHD?
I was in my second semester freshman year of college. So
Okay.
like 19.
So did the doctor sort of just put you on Adderall straight away?
I have always had like a journey with my mental health basically since I turned like 14, moved and there's all this trauma stuff. So actually people were very resistant to like diagnose me at first, but then like eventually I got put on Lamictal, which is like a mood stabilizer. And like once I got put on that, then they were like, American psychiatry is honestly diabolical. Like it's so fucking crazy. Like they put you on one thing and then it dulled me out a lot. So they were like, oh, let's give you Adderall to like, whatever, boost your mood and your grades and like your ADHD because of whatever, all this stuff. I was like, okay. And then I was kind of depressed and they put me on another thing and then I couldn't sleep and then they put me on, it's like actually so crazy. So, yeah, like that happened like second semester freshman year of college. It was either that or, the first semester sophomore year. And my grades were not great at first. I was like not focused and put on Adderall. I got really skinny, got like dean's list every year. And then I went to Paris, study abroad and I stopped taking it. And that's when like my weight started to fluctuate. It was like, I don't recommend Adderall is like a short-term fix, but it has like serious like consequences.
So like how long was the period between when you first took Adderall and then going to Paris where you stopped?
I think I was on Adderall. I'm sorry, I haven't like thought about like that.
No, don't worry.
I think I started Adderall. It was either end of my freshman year, but I actually think that it was beginning of my sophomore year because I had a boyfriend during my freshman year. When he came back sophomore year, I like looked really good. And I think it was because I like lost weight on Adderall. And I started getting better grades. So I think it was just for a semester. So like a few months I was on it. And then when I went to Paris, like I didn't fucking care about getting amazing grades anymore. I just wanted to have fun with my friends.
So it was mainly because of a school thing. You were just like, what's the point in taking it now?
Well, yeah. I mean, that was like the reason. And that it was like I was taking it for school. It did help my mood a lot. Like it helped like get me up and motivated, but like it makes you a fucking zombie. So like I was in Paris and I like wasn't really enjoying myself. I wasn't really eating. I mean, I'm in Paris, all this amazing food. My friends, I would comment that like I wasn't as funny or I was just like flat. It was a very flat affect. And so I just became aware of it. I didn't know that I had changed so much on it. And so yeah, it must have been a couple months and then I'd stopped taking it as regularly. I think I would take it like when I had classes there, but because I don't know, for anyone who's like taken it and then when you don't take it Adderall, like messes with your dopamine, right? And so I literally developed like a binge eating disorder because I like was trying to feed myself the dopamine that I was like lacking now that my brain was like on meth for like 3 or 4 months basically, and then more regular. So yeah.
How do you deal with your ADHD now that you don't take Adderall? So what are your sort of coping mechanisms?
I'll just finish that so everyone knows. I was on Adderall for 9 years. So I in Paris was very fluctuating. I gained a ton of weight in Paris because of this like binge eating thing. When I got back, I started taking Adderall like religiously, like lost the weight, and I was on it for like another probably 8 years at that point. Like I was on it for like 9 years total. And when I got off of it, I felt like myself and like a human and peaceful and happy for the first time in my life. So I was like, there's no fucking way I'm ever going on that. It was a literal meth withdrawal. I was withdrawing from meth for 11 days. It was like sheer agony. I like didn't know if I was going to survive. It was so dramatic, but it made me be like, I am never touching it again. And so I had to find ways of coping, because after I got off, I got another job, and I was like, this is my first job without Adderall. And I was like, I felt like like mashed potato sitting at the computer. So like, I got to get my shit together. So I found Dr. Kelly Brogan. She's very well known now. She's like I think 2-3-time author. She's a holistic psychiatrist, and she actually built her practice. I love telling her story because she was so in the system. Like she's literally super fucking smart. She's MIT grad.
Wow.
She had like offices on Madison Avenue.
Oh my God.
200K education, like to become a psychiatrist, and then had a massive awakening, realized it's all complete fucking bullshit. It's like psycho-spiritual, like slavery, or, psychological slavery, I think. And then she dedicated her whole practice to taking women off of medication. So she wrote this whole book about how to treat. She opened my mind anyways to like holistic psychiatry. I also met a girl in Denver who was treating her ADHD holistically. So kind of like put me on to like this other world I didn't even know existed, like coming from New York, and like the only thing I knew to do for my mental health was like the doctors, I just didn't know. And it was also like, now this stuff is more popular, but during that time it definitely wasn't. Certainly like in 2008, I think, when I was put on it, I had holistic psychiatry was not anything anyone was talking about. So, anyways, today, I love L-tyrosine. I love dopamine precursors. I took some today. This episode. I love, I'm really big on diet. So when I'm eating a lot of meat and not a lot of grains, gluten, sugars, my mind is super on point. A lot of people who have ADHD have diets that are really high in those things. So just, it will blow your mind that eliminating them will give you so much more clarity and focus.
Right.
I did like little experiments in Denver where I like totally eliminated it. And then I introduced it like a week later, and I felt like I got hit by a bus, and I was like, okay, this stuff I can never eat this. Yeah. I also like listening to like brown noise or like isochronic tones, I think they're called, like binaural beats when I'm working. And also just like learning about like my brain and what I'm capable of, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. Like my brain is not meant for like daily habits that I repeat every single day for a year. Like I will fall off those habits, and it's okay, just like having strategies in place to like come back from them and not beat yourself up. Like I think self-awareness is really key also. So.
Okay, I see. Because I think a few of my friends have got either depression or anxiety, and they are completely for medication, and they've said that, if it wasn't for medication, I probably wouldn't be here today. What would you say to someone like that, who's kind of like completely for medication, and that's basically like there's no other option, they could never see themselves not taking it?
Yeah, I get a lot of comments from people like that, and my response is like, until you really this is my perspective. Like I know I owe it. I know that with medication, there is a sacrifice that you make. There's a massive sacrifice to your person, to your personality, to the connectiveness that you have with your body, with other people, with interpersonal relationships. Like you cannot deny there are studies that like show this, especially with like SSRIs. Adderall literally made me a fucking psychopath. Like my empathy was like diminished, and I was just like dissociated.
Really? Because you said that you grew up such an empathetic person as well, so that completely took that trait away.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I wasn't like actually like I wasn't like doing necessarily bad things, but there were some instances that I was in that I look back on and I'm like, Morgan, that was not a good decision. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just, I was very disconnected. And there are I believe studies that show that it does like kind of diminish that capacity. And I've heard other people say like, yeah, I was like, it's like you're a robot, you know, like I was very unavailable. I was able to have like date guys, whatever. And like, you know, like a heartbreaker. I have guys tell me all the time, like, I just wasn't connected. Like I didn't care. But the minute that I think it was like day 9 of my withdrawal, like I had all of my feelings come back, and like I ended it with this guy that I'd been seeing, like I just couldn't handle it. So, so yeah, what would I say to those people is like, I know that I owe it to myself to try everything that I can to feel better, without having to sacrifice any part of myself. Like I'm so against being controlled in any way. I'm so against, being any inauthentic version of myself, because I know the toll that it takes on the human spirit. It's just a sacrifice, and I don't think we should have to sacrifice anything. I think it is possible to be happy and healthy without these medications. Like it is actually possible. Like I'm a living testimony of it. I believe I'm like a miracle in many cases based on like, you know, some whatever past experiences. But yeah, like you owe it to yourself. And I've actually worked with women, helping them get off of stuff and supplementing with, you know, certain things like vitamin D also is a big one, or fish oil is really huge. Like get your vitamins measured first, right? Like go to like functional medicine, or like get a full picture of really what's going on. You could just be D deficient. When I'm not taking my vitamin D, I'm a mess. Like I'm sad and crying more. Like there's some things that like with just knowledge of our bodies, like that will grant you so much freedom. And just taking like a vitamin D that doesn't actually sacrifice any part of your person, it actually makes you better, you know, the version you are. And all of that being said, like my best friend in the world, she went off of medication, then she got into this relationship, like had a really hard time with like relationship OCD, and she's taking medication again, and it's helping her relationship. Like I don't want to shame anyone at the same time. Like I recognize that like sometimes it is the easiest thing, or like whatever, but she did try everything. I don't think everything, but she did try like her own way first. And you know, this is what she's doing. And I'm just very happy that she's in a healthy, happy relationship. So I don't want to be so black and white, but like most of the people that I speak to or are so, I used to be hung up on it too. Oh my God. I've had people during my journey, I had people on several occasions be like, you're prescribed a lot of Lamictal. Like, why are you prescribed so many medications? You don't need this many. And like, you know, you're in the system and you're told by these doctors, like, if you don't take these, you're not going to be functional. You're going to lose all your relationships. Like you're going to kill yourself, like all this stuff. So you're like, oh, I need them to survive. Like it's like the program of it. But yeah. I was at a place in my life. I was like, it wasn't like my, you know, I was not early on in the game. Like I like knew myself. I was safe. I took myself off, and I was working with a therapist, and yeah, found a better option for me. Like Kelly Brogan talks about it. She's like, I was taught, here's the symptom, here's the drug. It's like they're drug dealers, like literally. And when I look back to like all these, I was seeing, by the way, the best fucking psychiatrists in New York City, like Columbia, PhD, on Madison Avenue. Like I was seeing, I think they were like almost $400 a session, like crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like you know, so it's not like it was bad doctor. Like by any metrics, they were the best doctors. But they're trained to treat symptoms. They're not trained in meditation. Nobody talks about fucking trauma. Okay. I learned about trauma on my own rabbit holes. Like once I, you know, came to the awareness of certain things about my mom, I was like, why has nobody told me about trauma, complex trauma, narcissistic personality disorder, or abuse? Like, so they're just not trained. They're, when you really look into like the medical system, you know, the drug companies give money to the schools and then put members of their boards on the schools, and then slowly change the curriculums to include their products as viable treatment options. So it's about selling products and not about actually helping people. Even though I know I'm sure a lot of doctors, probably the majority of doctors who get into the field wanting to help people, it's a very like tiny little sliver of like the whole holistic. I think it's everyone's like responsibility. So it's everyone's part to blame, but like also, you know, they're going into a school system, again, having an authority outside of themselves, like following orders and not really questioning things deeper, really how to help people, like really. Like, you know, on my journey, for example, I ended up getting off meds. I was treating ADHD holistically. Like I was great for a few years, but I still had this like underlying like thing in me that like I couldn't hit on. And I was like, there's something else here. Ended up moving to Mexico, doing ayahuasca in the jungle for like a year and finding all of this trauma, that like repressed memories and stuff that I had no idea about. Nobody told me that like that could be a thing, you know, like I never had any inkling. So there's just a lot that these doctors and mainstream approaches to health like don't know and don't account for. So I think it's so important for us as like, you know, empowered consumers or empowered like humans for our own health to fight for ourselves and be our own authority to like gain the healing that we are looking for.
Oh yeah, I was watching your YouTube as well. I think you did like a little episode. I forgot who it was with. That's so bad. But she was basically talking about the pill as well.
Yeah.
I've heard so many things about the pill, and like some girls have not been attracted to their boyfriends anymore after coming off of it, or vice versa, or like they've just feel like a completely different person. It's crazy how much it affects the chemistry in your body. It's crazy.
It's horrifying. It's horrifying. We've had women on this for like decades, and it fundamentally changes your entire chemical makeup and like how you're relating to the world and to men and to yourself. Like I've worked with women who are on birth control and then they get off birth control. It is a completely different experience. The way that you connect to your body is completely different. The taste that you have in men is completely different.
Yeah, like, that's crazy. That is crazy.
It's crazy. It's literally the deep irony, and what I find so sad is like it was positioned as this like liberation for women. I feel like it's one of the most oppressive things for women. Like it literally disconnects you from your feminine cycle. Women are cyclical. We're seasonal. We have 4 beautiful phases to our cycles, and it flatlines us like a man. And so women will have casual relations. It's one of the worst things I think to happen.
That women are on a 28-day cycle and men are on a 24-hour cycle, which people don't really understand. So like with the 28-day cycle, every single day affects us. At different, it's not just like, you know, just on our period when we're bleeding. It's not just that. Do you know what I mean? It's like every single day.
Yeah, it's so true. It's all different.
And we don't get taught that in school. We don't get taught that, you know, we get taught obviously like what happens in the uterus and all that, like the physical stuff, but we never get taught how that affects women mentally. Like I don't know about you, but on my period I get so sleepy as well. Like I could sleep for 10 years, honestly.
Yeah, lethargic. I mean it changes literally how your brain functions. So like there are certain phases of your cycle where you're more creative. There's certain phases of your cycle where you're more fatigued, and like the way the world is constructed. And the way the world is constructed for a male 24-hour fertility cycle, because historically men were the ones working, but now women are in the workforce. And so we're kind of like forced to assimilate to this structure, but it's not really working. It actually burns us out. Our nervous systems get totally whacked out. Cortisol gets shot up. So when you have this like knowledge, again, like I'm all about like personal empowerment. Like when you know what day of the cycle you're on, what you need to be doing, even what you need to be eating. Like in the first half of your cycle, it's really good to eat really high protein, a lot of stuff like red meat and fats. Yeah, and the second half is good to eat like incorporate some more carbs. Also fasting. Like the thing is, I have so much to say about this. Like health research and like all this research, it's done on men. Like fasting research is done on men. Like women are not supposed to fast that long, that frequently, and at certain phases of our cycle. Like in the early part of our cycle, after we're done bleeding, like then we're good. But the second phase, when we're like our bodies are kind of maybe preparing for a baby, like it's not good to fast. You could actually totally whack out your hormones. Or like working out fasted, it's so bad for us. We're supposed to like eat within 30 minutes of waking up to like keep our bodies feling safe, and like that there's like a consistent food supply. Like there's so much to it. And the whole
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, it goes really deep. A lot of most, if not all, like actually to this day, I don't think that there's like health studies or nutrition studies that separates the data like women versus men in most cases. And so we're always women and men. It's like science treats women's bodies like tiny men's bodies, but it's literally a completely different body. We have a completely different
biology. Yeah,
it's wild. But this is why I'm a big advocate for self-experimentation. I tried the fasting thing. It worked initially. Then I started losing my cycle, and I was like, maybe this isn't great, and I need to like actually start.
How often were you fasting for?
There was different phases. I would go through like different phases. One point it was 16 hours. One point I was doing day on, day off. So I would fast for a whole day and then eat for the next day, fast, eat. I've done 36-hour fast. I'm going to start incorporating 36 hours again, but just 36-hour fast and not all the other stuff. Like I need to eat when I'm eating within 30 minutes of waking up, something like with 30 grams of protein. My body is so happy and like low stress, and yeah, even like losing weight, but you're eating more because your hormones are like happy and balanced. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health person. These are the things I've tried.
No, I really admire, the time you've taken to sort of understand your body and how everything works, and trying and testing out all these different methods. Like, it's really admirable. What made you sort of want to get into all of that? Have you always just been quite an inquisitive person?
Yeah, I'm very curious, and I also, I mean, the real answer is I don't fucking trust anything at this point. Like I feel like all these institutions have like lied to me about what I needed or like what was good for me. So I'm like, let me just figure it out myself. So I'm always down for like a little self-experiment and just to see for myself. Yeah.
Amazing. So you're not vaccinated either with COVID and stuff?
No. There's certain things, and again, I'm not a doctor, and I've also never experimented with these, but I've read up on it because I have friends who got vaccinated and then they had all these like weird autoimmune stuff, like whatever. I know that, or I've heard that zeolite is really good, and also MMS, which is kind of controversial. It's like illegal in the States unless you have like religious exemption, and then it's okay. And people might say that I'm crazy. You know what? Okay, but those two things, and then also I think CoQ10 might be good. So there's stuff that maybe.
You mentioned we were talking about the cycle, and then like how you said, even not just even medication, just day to day. And the cycle with that, and how everything like 9 to 5s, they're all structured for men. So I've always said to my friends, I've always been like, I love the fact that, women can make money now, of course, but I feel like we should get period leave.
Oh my God, 100%.
And majority of my friends don't agree with me. They're like, just take medication and suck it up. Like, I was like, no, I genuinely, like, that's the one thing that I get worried about with working as well. I'm just like, how am I going to cope with my period on the months where it is, really painful, or I'm really lethargic or whatever? Because I'm a big advocate for listening to your body as well. Yeah. Like if I'm craving a food, I'll eat it. If I'm, I won't force myself to do anything. I won't restrict myself. Whatever my body's feeling, I just do it, sort of thing. Yeah, yeah. And so I was saying that to my friends, and I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, how many days would you get off? I'd be like, maybe at least 3, depending obviously on women to women. We're all different again. And she was like, do you think it should be paid? I was like, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know about the paid part, but I definitely don't think that we should be obliged to work on our periods, or maybe even just like work at home if we want to, something like that, some sort of adjustment.
I mean, it's a tough debate, and I've heard of this in the context of like maternity leave. Like, if a company is just focused on profit, why would they hire someone that they have to like allow to leave?
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So I can see that. But if they actively are wanting women participating and they're trying to, whatever, do the whole diversity thing, like, and as an entrepreneur, like the way that I structure my business and like how I'm working is definitely like around my cycle and how I'm feeling. So I kind of can do that, but like, yeah, it's a tough debate. I don't think that like, it's a tough debate. I mean, the reality of the world is just not structured for it. And if it was between you and like a guy with your equal credentials or whatever, like, and he didn't need the 3 days off a month,
that's the
like,
thing.
It's in the company's best.
It's so tough.
But if you're a killer and you're doing like I worked out my last like office job, like I was able to stay home like 2 or 3 days a week, maybe even just save it up and like work at home during those 2 days or something. Yeah,
what we've been talking about, that kind of nicely leads us on to like the feminism aspect. So I've been watching your TikToks and stuff, and you used to be like, I don't want to say a raging feminist, but you used to be like a proper feminist.
Yes.
And now you're like completely not.
Completely not, no.
So what was that transition like?
Yeah, I grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey, and then moved to New York. East Coast is very liberal, very feminist. My mom was very feminist. Even though like in practice she was not. She was like literally a housewife, like never worked. But yeah, I was just like a staunch feminist. I went so hard for Gloria Steinem. I had 2 huge, I mean, to this day, I still like romanticize them, like 2 huge black lacquer like bookcases in my apartment, just filled with like all sorts of things, but like a lot of feminist literature, like maybe 3 rows minimum filled with just like, and there was a 2.5 year period where the only thing that I read was feminist content. Like, you know, I went really hard. I think I saw Gloria Steinem speak. Like,
Oh,
yeah. And I was like, it made my life. I watched her like Vice show religiously. Like, I was just like about it. Like, when I tell people, I get comments all the time, like, you weren't a real feminist. Like, bitch, I definitely was a real fucking real one out here. And yeah, like, basically, I was a raging feminist. I was in New York, got off of meds, started questioning everything. Once I got off of meds, I started like being in my right mind. Like, I was no longer on drugs and controlled by like literal medication. And I could like feel things like my passion and like just these latent things that I did not have access to. So I started waking up about, first of all, I was like, well, what the hell was that? Like, this medical institution just lied to me for 10 years. Like, what else is lying to me? So I was very open-minded at that point, and I started questioning the government. Like, that's when Trump won. And I was like, what the hell? All these mainstream media organizations like told me that Hillary was going to win, and like all this stuff, like someone lied to me, like what? And it just like shot me down the fucking rabbit hole. And so anyways, at that point, I was still quite feminist. I moved to Denver, so I changed my context. And whenever I'm talking about transformation to anyone, I always recommend changing the context, traveling, getting out, because like our minds are creatures of habit. When you're in the same environment, you like repeat the same habits and the same thought patterns. And it's really wild. Like, once I came back to that apartment, like I literally locked into the same thought patterns and stuff, even though I was in a much different place and it didn't even make sense. So I was in Denver, and I had never wanted a relationship. Like, while I was on medication, I even took myself to therapy because I was like, why? I'm like in my early and mid 20s. Why don't I want a relationship? And of course the doctors were like, you're just young. And it's like, no, I was on medication and deeply unavailable and had all this like stuff to work through. So in Denver, I did want a relationship because I was off the meds and I was studying dating. And I was like, what is this? This is completely against everything that feminism taught me, like how to interact with men and feminine energy and all this stuff. And I was like, this is wild. I also, around the same time, started like having this feminine energy renaissance that I mentioned, and just getting really connected to my body and like what it really means to be a woman, and started to appreciate all these things that I kind of like shunned. Like, there was a point where I didn't even wear makeup for like 2 years basically, and I would just wear the same like black clothes, like, you know, not embracing my femininity and my feminine energy, my womanhood. So once I started like sinking into that, I also like, you know, started healing the relationship with my father and with men, and like I couldn't read that bullshit anymore. It was like felt very angry. It felt like it was trying to control me and control how it made me feel, like it was manipulation kind of. And so it just stopped resonating. It was a really natural thing. And then I fell down the rabbit hole of like Gloria Steinem's connection to the CIA. And don't think that I'm crazy for saying that, or just a conspiracy theorist. It's literally recorded. Like, she has a lot of ties there, and like they completely backed her whole publication, Mrs. Magazine. Like, it's darker when you really get into it. And I was just like, oh my God, the government had anything to do with this. Like, screw that. So yeah, then I had really strong opinions about this, but never really had a platform. I made those YouTube videos, but they got like a couple thousand views, and then TikTok came around, and I was like, whoa, let me talk about it.
I mean, you said feminine energy, and that's something that I think even before this podcast I was telling you, I've been really reconnecting with that and understanding, like you said, what it means to be a woman and how amazing we are just as a being. A lot of people, I think, even online and stuff, they sometimes comment on your TikToks and say, you know, feminine energy is bullshit, or, you know, this is just, what was the thing? I think I read a comment on one of your posts. Someone said it's just gender roles reconstructed or something. It's like it's like a nicer way of like talking about that or whatever. But I think there's such a misconception with feminine energy. It's a superpower. Like, some people see it as like a weakness. Some people might see it as, you know, less than a man, but that's just not the case.
No, I think it's like magic. I think it's like, when you look at the world today, there has been, and I'm not saying that's like in any sort of victimhood or like women have it so hard. Like, I don't believe that all the time. I think that we have a lot of strength and a lot of ease that men don't have in many respects.
Yeah,
but like,
I agree.
There's certainly, I think, if you're looking at the world through this lens of masculine and feminine energy, there has absolutely been a war on feminine energy. I mean, art is no longer art. When you look at art today versus art in like the 1800s, like it's completely different. Like women today are like turning their backs to their own beauty and their own like body. Like there's no appreciation for like the gifts that we naturally have. Like we have both men and women working and fulfilling the role of a man who's at home nurturing the home and the children. Like there's been this like effort almost to like strip us away of this, like you said, superpower and this thing that nurtures and sustains life. Like now we're all these like worker drones, like hustle, like everything's outsourced. Like it's not balanced. And I think it's because of this lack of balance that we have so many issues today in our society. It's like very much a sickness. But it's the absolute transformation I've witnessed with the women that I work with when they begin to tap into their feminine energy is like you can't, there's nothing like it. Like the power that you gain from embracing your natural gifts, that is true power. Like much of my platform is about how to become a powerful human, the most powerful version of yourself. And I don't mean that like egoic power or how to manipulate or how to play these mind chess. No, like I mean how to like live and connect with your natural, most authentic like self and energy. Because when you do that, nobody can fuck with you. Like a woman naturally in her feminine, and like embracing all of her and not like divorcing herself or abandoning parts of her to like fit into this world or whatever, like that is potent. It's like magnetic. You see it, you feel it sometimes when you're around certain women or when you're like witnessing them. So I think it's like the most important journey women can embark on, certainly, and masculinity for men also. I think on both fronts, masculinity, there's certainly been a massive war on that as well.
I agree.
So, yeah.
What would you say?
The masculine men.
What would you say to somebody who goes, Morgan, you're not a feminist, so do you think that women don't have the right to vote, shouldn't have the right to vote? What would you say to that?
All the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've seen it on your TikTok.
No, I don't think that, but like also don't give a fuck. Like I like let the men deal with society. Like I want to own the dominion of the home, and like there's more important things. Like there's actually a quote back. It was in an article titled "Why Women Do Not Want the Suffrage." It's little known, but like only 4% of women actually wanted to fucking vote back in the day. Like
yeah, I've heard about that. Like there are actually women queuing up to say we don't want to vote. Like leave it to the men.
Literally, because it causes an imbalance. And in it, they basically said women have too important of a role in society to be burdened with this extra responsibility. We literally have the role to like, nurture and sustain like the next generation and our homes and our husbands and whatever. And it is important. And I know a lot of women are triggered when they hear that, but like look at the quality of men today. Okay, like it's not the quality of women today. Like we're not in a great place in society. It's literally like so I what I do speak to with the feminist movement, I absolutely believe that women should have our own bank accounts.
Of course,
like, I don't really give a fuck about government. Like I think the government's a scam. I believe in voluntarism. When people bring up the right to vote, I'm like, you're just like perpetuating this like fraudulent rulership that is just by violence and things. Like I just don't care. But with the bank account conversation, I don't believe that we should be like second-class citizens or slaves or not have the same opportunity that men have. I just feel like today with this wave of feminism, it's like we can do everything a man can do. It's like, what if we don't fucking want to? And what if doing that isn't actually good for us? Like what if we have different needs? What if just because we can doesn't mean that we should? Women have very much been encouraged one way and it's not balanced. And it's been a very small sliver in like all the realms of possibilities that we can choose for ourselves. I think that there could be another kind of option until I grew up a little bit.
Honestly, I think women have become extremely hyper independent and then men have become too comfortable, which is why it's clashing and not working.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
So would you say you're more of like a first wave feminism kind of girl? Nowadays, it's become extremely hateful towards men. And now even things like, I think it's killed chivalry. like, you know, no men on the train or the tube or anything ever want to give up their seat. Or if I've got like loads of suitcases, because I used to go to university in Manchester and I'd come down to London, and you know, I'd have all these suitcases, and it's always like the old men that offer to like take my suitcase, which is so nice because it's like the older generation. But now the younger ones don't do it at all, because they just think that, you know, they get offended by that. And a lot of my friends as well, they don't like chivalry at all, like holding doors open and things, because they think it's because you want something out of. But even if they did, like, you have the, you know, the prerogative to just say no if you don't want to do something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've heard this from them that they've gotten like barked at basically for like holding the door open or trying to pull out a chair. Like I've heard
I love chivalry. I love it.
But like I'll tell you, girl, like I've heard that from them, but those are the same men that open the door for me, and I'm so gracious and grateful. Like you teach men how to treat you, and if that's what your standard is, like they step up. And I will say it, maybe it's a little easier with the older generation because like they are used to it. They have that.
They're brought up around that.
Natural. But like honestly, I've dated a younger guy recently, and like all I had to do was like make a little comment, and he started getting my door. Like from, you know, like really? There's certain things. Yeah, like there's certain like little things. Like once you know, it's all feminine energy though. Like we kind of set the tone, and like they like match it. So like if you don't have self-esteem and you know you're okay with them hitting up at midnight and to come over because you're gonna do it, like that's how they're gonna treat you. But if you have other standards, like they match that. Yeah.
So it's about taking accountability of your actions as a woman as well.
Yes. And I will say maybe that's something that women back in the day didn't have to do so much because it was just kind of social like norm. But it's and I will say chivalry is not certainly where it used to be, but I don't believe it's dead. The men that I date treat me very well, and they like know what I like, and they're happy to do it. And like we both get off from it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Also, men aren't as appreciated as well anymore when they do the nice things. I think it's just very much like as you should. And that kind of like, I get where the girl's coming from, but I think men like to feel appreciated. That's in their nature.
This is it's such a good point what you're saying. Like this is exactly why I studied dating, and like it's marketing. Like my whole career, you know, girl boss career has been in marketing, and so it's how to connect with people and how to like form relationships with people. But like men and women, first of all, men and women used to be kept quite separate. So even being in school and growing up together was frowned upon because it meant that women would be kind of masculinized, men would be kind of feminized, and they tried to keep the gender separate so that they could grow into strong men and strong women, like respectively.
Is that why we've got like single sex schools?
Yes.
Oh.
Back in the day, yeah. Like 19 whatever. 40s or 50s, or like there used to be like just a concerted effort to do that, to kind of cultivate femininity and cultivate masculinity in earlier ages in development. So when you're dating, okay, you're dating for a different market. You're not dating for your fucking girlfriends. You're probably, if you have great girlfriends, amazing for you. Dating is completely fucking different. Men need different things. Men don't need to text you all the time and need to know about every single experience that you're having and gossip and whatever, all this stuff. Like they are different creatures, and like speaking to them and interacting with them is a completely different experience, and you will get so much farther when you do tiny little easy brain dead things, like appreciate them or tell them how it makes you feel when they do something sweet for you, or like it will take you so much farther. So I'm a big proponent in men learning about what women need and vice versa, and it creates much harmonious relationships. I think like the dating world today and feminism and just women in general, I see, like you said, so much toxic stuff about as you should and I want this and this and this. It's like, okay, is he gonna want to continue showing up for you? Probably not. I wouldn't. Like that's a really growth attitude.
Just appreciate it when it does happen, because it is rare these days.
Yeah, and I mean, don't be so thirsty like you've never had someone hold the fucking door open for you or pay for dinner, but like, yes, like a thank you, and I really appreciate it. I had so much fun. It's like manners to me at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it will get you so far. I think a lot of this dating stuff, like, it's a lot of ego. You know, like what you just said, that when girls have the attitude, it's ego. It's a lot of like, oh, as you should, I deserve that. It's like, okay, you can still soften and like tell him like that it was really appreciated and that you really liked it. Yeah.
Even with the Red Bull stuff, I think that's also sometimes can be quite hateful on both sides. I think I've got quite a balanced view on everything. Like I like a lot of things from the Red Pill, I like a lot of things from feminism, but I don't like a lot of things from either as well, because I feel like just overall the reason I don't is because I feel like they're very hateful. It's a lot of like, men are trash, women are trash. And it's like, if you keep, disrespecting the other gender or sex.
People ride so fucking hard for me because I just say it.
You guys, that's your thing, is free speech.
No.
There's a thing here called hate crime.
Oh my God.
Have you heard of this girl called sadiapsychology?
Yeah, I love her.
I love her.
Smart. Yeah, she's genius.
She's great. Like, she's honestly, like, I think what I like about her as well, she's got quite a, she treats men and women equally and case by case basis as well, which I really like. Yeah, she's not hateful. Fair. Yeah, she's really fair.
Yeah. I like what you said when you're like, I like things from both. That's what we're supposed to fucking do. But people get it so twisted and they're like, no, this is Bible. This is my new religion. It's like, listen, it is your job to maintain your critical thinking skills and use them and figure out like what that line is for you. Figure out what you believe in and like be able to listen to like opposing perspectives without getting so fucking triggered and like maybe listen and keep your mind open and work through some of these ideas and see maybe what you like about it, maybe what did trigger you if you did get triggered, so that you can work through it. Like a lot of people who get triggered on my stuff, it's like repressed stuff, but it's like, okay, well, why did it make you so mad? Like get deeper. I've had women literally DM me say, I saw this TikTok on medication. I unfollowed you. I've been following you for, this girl literally said this. I unfollowed you even though I've been following you for like over a year. It made me so angry. And then I actually couldn't let it go and I was sitting with it and I realized that I needed to start like seeing if I can get off medications. She got off. She was like, thank you so much. Like so much happier. And like, there's a process to it, but a lot of people just like, take it at face value and they're like, I'm angry and you're a bad person. It's like, but it's like an adolescent perspective. Like, I don't like what you said, like you're mean, whatever. It's like, no, like we are adults. It's okay to like listen to new ideas and ask ourselves how we feel about them and explore like our inner world.
I love Piers Morgan. I actually love him. I think he's great. I think a lot of stuff I don't agree with, a lot of stuff I do, but it doesn't mean I have to hate him just because I disagree with some things he says. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. I think that's very healthy and rational. I've changed a lot, right? I used to be very liberal in New York. Like I did a complete 180 basically, but like I still have almost all of the friends that I had back then because like they're open-minded and they like love me enough to have these like discussions, and it's not so like, oh, you're changed now, you don't believe in feminism, I'm a huge feminist, and so we can't be even if they think that's differently than you, can still like hold you as a person. Like, of course, just because you've got a different opinion doesn't mean you should hate the person. And the whole pick me girl thing, what do you think about that? You probably get called a pick me girl all the time.
I think feminism is not about choice. I feel like they say that it's about choice. It's really not. Men who choose to be stay-at-home moms or even stay-at-home wives get reamed in that comment section. TikTok is a very powerful tool for seeing like public sentiment, like how people are feeling, like, consumer insights basically. And whenever I look at comment sections of like stay-at-home, whatever, wifeys or girlfriends or moms or whatever, it's just a bunch of like feminists saying like you're setting women back and this and that.
Really?
Oh my God, absolutely. Like maybe I feel like it's been shifting now for at least the past year and a half. Like I was kind of early on the wave and it's certainly like a lot bigger of a wave now. But you look at any woman who's being taken care of by a man and you'll get a lot of women being like, I don't, like you're setting women back, like lazy, like all this stuff. Like, so I don't think
to be fair, I have seen that actually. Yeah,
I don't think that it's about choice. It's only about choice when you're choosing to do what the institution wants you to do, which is to work and try to be like a man and make the government more money, in my opinion. And I think the pick me comments come from that perspective of like, if you are a woman and you're choosing to embrace your natural feminine energy, like you're somehow a pick me, or if you're calling out a very toxic institution that I think does a lot of harm to women, like feminism, like I'm a pick me, like I'm not doing this to like look good to men. In fact, if you watch any of my content, I call men out almost equally as I call women out.
Like sadiapsychology, she does the same, doesn't she?
Yeah. I think she's just fucking brilliant. Like,
I love her. I actually love her.
About her.
Yeah, she's great.
It's just a measured approach. I'm always for my team. Like I love women and I
love women.
I always want us to like win and be the best, most powerful versions of ourselves. But I also want that for men because I think that men being in their power, like that's what I like as a woman. I want more masculine men with high testosterone and whatever. So that's the pick me comments. I get them a lot. I get a lot of really interesting
I
comment.
think there's a big misconception of people like you who don't identify as a feminist, that you hate women, but you don't. You love them.
I love them. I think feminism hates women. Feminism
Do you
strips women away
think?
of all of our natural gifts. Yeah. It's
I
like, oh, we're
see.
not just baby makers, blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't need men. Like, fuck, like, I want them. I love men. It's very healthy for men and women to have like healthy, harmonious relationships. Like, I think
Mm.
feminism taught me, like, I could do anything a man can do. Like, men are, having casual relations, like, I can too. And I thought
What
I
do
was
you think of that?
empowered.
What do you think of
I think
casual
it's
relationships?
horrific. I think
Do you
it's setting
think?
women up for, well, generally, yes. I think when we're talking about hookup culture and the way that many women are engaging in these relationships,
Mm.
absolutely. I believe it's a trauma to the body. I believe it's very dissociated. I believe it's, you're probably acting out trauma that you have somewhere, either repressed or not. Like, I think that
Mm.
it's very unhealthy. I think women, when we sleep with men, we release oxytocin. This is a bonding hormone. And when you're bonding with a man and he's leaving over and over and over and over again, you're literally setting yourself up for abandonment trauma over and over and over
Is
again.
that why we get attached? Women get
Yes,
attached when
literally, yes.
I
The system is
see.
rigged. Like, it's
I
not,
see.
yeah. And so I think when women are on medication, certainly when I was on medication, I didn't feel that. And so I thought that I could do that. But once I got off, it was like, holy fuck, like, you feel it and it's not healthy. It's not what women need. Women, granted, I will say that I do think that there is like, a space for a very conscious, intentional relationship that's maybe more like a lover situation versus like,
Mm.
like, I think that it's kind of possible, but it's still not perfect, because even then you're still like having to grapple with these attachments and like hormones in a way that men don't.
Mm.
So I don't want to be so, I get some comments saying, oh, what are you, a proponent for purity culture? Like, no, I'm not. But I think most women are not informed about the process that our body takes when we are engaging in any sexual activity, even if you're not sleeping
Mm.
with them. If you're getting like aroused and like worked up, even a guy, ladies listening, if a guy is like on your like nip or whatever, literally our bodies are wired to release oxytocin so that we bond with our infant children. Okay. So that
No
like,
way.
yeah. So when a man is doing that, it's like extra on overdrive and you like bond with him more. So if you're trying to
Oh
like
my
walk the line and
God.
maybe not get attached, just that's included in it. There's like
Oh my
little
God.
things that it's important to know so that you can operate in a way that's like healthy for yourself and not harming yourself,
Yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
my
something I
God.
believe in really strongly. But women don't like me saying that because they're like, oh, like slut shaming and all this stuff. And I'm like, I've like been there. Like, I'm not judging anyone. I'm just trying to inform women of really what it is. Cause again, the rhetoric is we can do anything a man can do. Like, yes, you can, that you should, or that it's healthy, or that it's going to have positive long-term consequences for you. Not to mention, did you know that 40% of babies born today are born to single mothers? That is fucking insane. So you have, yes, the small attachment thing, but the bigger picture is that you could get knocked up by a man that's not your husband, by a man that you did not vet for like husband material. So maybe he's not a good father, and now you're a single ass mom, which is not ideal. It's not the ideal situation for a kid. Yes, women do it and they can do it very well or to the best of their abilities, but this is not setting your kid up for like the best possible situation.
Some people would say that's the man's fault though.
No, it's a good point, but who picks the men? Like, we pick the men. We're doing a shitty job of picking men because we're financially independent today. So we don't like necessarily need to vet for that. Like, we just do it based on how men make us feel. And a lot of guys have good game. They'll say what we want to hear and da da da. It is not a proper vetting for a good life partner and a good father for your children. Like, that's where women have it wrong. Like, a lot of women are blaming men. Like, it is so cringy to me. I see all these horrific dating stories of women just embarrassing themselves, saying, oh, he did this and this, and this is how he treated me. It's like, bitch, you picked him, first of all, and B, you allowed it. Like, it's not that all men are trash. It's that you're doing a shitty job of picking them. Granted, I do think that there has been a decrease in quality of both men and women, but you learn strategy, you learn game, you learn like what is okay and what's not okay. And then you act accordingly and you have boundaries up so that you're not in these really awful positions where you're sleeping with men and they're ghosting. I saw a girl literally make a TikTok I'm cringing right now. She was like, I just asked him before we slept together that if you're gonna ghost, at least just tell me. I'm like, bitch,
What does that mean?
what? It means like, she's gotten ghosted so many times by men that she was begging guys just
Oh, I
not to
see.
ghost her. I'm like, this is so dark. Like, there's no accountability on the part of like people who are dating and complaining about their results, like personal accountability. Like, if you're getting bad results in dating, like, stop blaming men, stop blaming everyone else, and like look at yourself, look at the kind of person that you're showing up as, and look at your fucking strategy. Like, that's you having the ability to change. You can only control yourself. So because you're doing that, now you're going to be able to choose better partners, because you're like, this is on me. It's on me alone. And so like now you're in control, versus if it's his fault, you're not in control of that situation. So then everything's against you, and you're just like, life's happening to you. And
that's true. What would you recommend a girl for the first step to find, like you said, to pick better, basically, in a man?
The first step,
if they find that they're attracting the same kind of, toxic guys or bad relationships, bad experiences?
It's a good question. And I think I'm a little bit biased. So I'll just say that. But I see a lot of women like going to therapy and, working on their mental health or whatever. And yes, that can be very important. Like, for example, if you have a fraught relationship with your father, then you really want to work through that. Yes. But a lot of times, and this might be controversial, I think it's like a context issue. Like, a lot of the girls that I work with that have really bad dating histories, it's because they don't have context of what it actually means to be treated well, or like they've never dated a good one because they're not attracted to them because they're in their own toxicity. That's all they know. So I'm a big proponent of like gaming yourself up, learning a little bit of strategy, like expanding your context of what you like think is possible. This is why I love Michelle Diaz. She's
amazing. We love you, Michelle. She's great,
but
honestly.
like giving you context, giving you game, giving you like this versus that. Like, it's education.
For
like
sure.
it's a lot of it is education. Like, yes, healing is important, but like there's no therapist that ever, in fact, I was seeing a therapist that literally I was seeing during the worst guy I've ever dated. He was literally a psychopath, like not my finest moment. He did a lot of damage. And my therapist was like, just go with it. Like, I know it's moving fast, but like, ride the train. The worst fucking advice. This man.
Why did she say that?
It was a man. He actually helped me a lot in my life, but just when it came to dating, like he's not a psychopath, so he didn't know about psychopaths. But like, if I was working with a dating coach, for example, like I've coached women in dating, I would have been like, that's a flag, that's a flag, that's a flag, that's a flag, that's a flag. Like, because you have more context for like that specific dynamic. Like, the world of dating is its own beast, I gotta say. And I don't actually think it's natural. Like, back in the day, women used to have like suitors come to them or go through their father or brother or whatever, and like by the time the guy got to the woman, like the whole family was involved, so he was on his best behavior. Like, there was like minimal trauma. Like, now we're just out here on our own, having to navigate our own emotional, like, it's just a lot. And like, you need to know how to do it effectively, like stay in your objectivity, like, not build up the intensity too fast. Like, there's a lot of little things to like learn. And I think that the more you learn earlier on, the less traumatic of a time you're gonna have. I think time you're gonna waste,
Yeah. I think also when you said earlier about how women are becoming more masculine, I think men are, because of that, men are also becoming more feminine. So now 100%. Men don't want to chase women anymore. Like, even if you look at, I don't know, I've always thought about this. I was like, even if you look at like nature, I don't know if you guys in America, do you know who David Attenborough is?
I've heard of him.
So he's like basically just like a UK icon. Like, he does like nature, that kind of stuff. So in all of his documentaries, every single one, all animal species, it's always men competing with each other. I say men, like the male animals competing with each other for the women's attention. Like, she's just sat there watching them, whether they're doing like a little dance or whatever it is. And then she chooses. Yeah. And I think Michelle's really big on this as well. Michelle Diaz, she's always like, she's got her roster of men and she picks the best one for her. And I think we've lost that. Now men are a bit like, I'm not chasing a woman.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Even back when you look at Disney movies and you have these women pining over men and like, oh my God, one day my prince will come. It's like conditioned us to, but it's very unnatural. And yes, men don't chase anymore, but there's certain things that you can do, like sinking into your feminine energy and strategy and whatever to incite that, and like sitting back more instead of like, a lot of girls are moving the needle themselves, and then you get very passive men and men who like are kind of indifferent to them. But there's a way to hack it. I mean, we're still humans at the end of the day. I know society has like took this hard left turn for the worst in some ways, but we're still animals, and there is like ways to hack the system, so to speak. It's like different. you know, different strategy that you need today, but definitely
I think
not
it's also
impossible.
self-love and knowing your worth. I think a lot of people think
100%.
self-love is just, you know, accepting how you look, you know, being happy in your body, being happy with your face, whatever it is. But it's so much deeper than that. And that's what I learned in my
Yeah.
last relationship. It's about knowing your worth and what you will and will not put up with, and being strong with your boundaries. I think that's something I'm still working on at the moment, is my boundaries.
Yeah.
That's something I'm
Yeah.
quite bad at. Like, I sometimes feel like I'll say no, but I feel extremely guilty. Or like, do you know what I mean? I'm always putting other people before me.
Yeah. That's
And
really
because of that, it can kind of not attract, but like when it comes, I don't know. Like I'm
I
seen as
sense
too
it.
nice. And I
Yeah.
used to think that's a compliment. I'd be like, oh my God, Karima,
No.
you're so nice. You're so nice. It's not a compliment. Now I look
No.
back and I'm like, no, is that the only, like, being nice, Morgan, has got me nowhere, genuinely got me nowhere. Whether it's with, you know, people don't respect me, you know, with men, they'll like not treat me, whatever it is. Being
It's true.
nice gets you nowhere.
Uh, Girl, I'm like creating an entire program, like deprogramming like the nice girl because of that. It's
Really?
like, oh, absolutely. You're not alone. Most of the girls that I work with are like nice girls.
Yeah.
And it is a boundary issue. You're like spot on with that. And it will get you killed. Okay. I don't want to, I'm not trying to fear monger. Predators, predatory men, bad men literally test women. There's one guy who I think was like a serial rapist or killer. He would go into grocery stores and he would intentionally bump into women, and the women who apologized to him were great targets. And even like, you know, psychopaths or narcissists, like there's little things that they do early on in dating that if you're not gamed up and if you don't have strong boundaries and a strong sense of self-love, as you said, they will get in and they will fuck you up. And you will like, oh my God, this one client that I had, like she was with this guy for 4 years and he literally had to die for her to get out of that relationship. Like it is so horrific what your life can turn into when you get entrenched with like bad people. Even bosses, like whatever. I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm just illustrating like the extreme cases of like being too nice and not having boundaries. And a lot of the work that I do with women, I had a whole death and rebirth workshop that I did, and we did really powerful. We've done like powerful no embodiments. Like again, when you incorporate the body into boundary work or any work, like it's the body is the physical manifestation of the subconscious mind. So it like triggers all these subconscious processes. I've had women like break down, cry during these because all of the times they didn't say no, or they couldn't, or they wanted to, or like this even relationship to your no is so foreign to us, you know? So it's the most important work that you can, some of the most, I think self-esteem work is huge, but boundaries are a big part of that.
100%.
And yeah, it's crucial, especially for young girls. Like we're really conditioned to be like nice, and it's bullshit. It literally is bullshit. It's like not attractive. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's like, so other people can have their way with you. And it's like, fuck that.
One of my main traits I'd say is I'm very kind, but I think I've learned that being kind doesn't, like, having boundaries doesn't mean you can't not be kind. You can still be a kind person. Do you know what I mean? So that's the one thing I would be like, but I'm not going to be kind anymore. Like that's really hard. That's not in my nature. But that's just not the case.
You can still be, sometimes being kind is being a bitch. Sometimes being kind is
that's
telling
true, because you're
someone like
protecting yourself. You're being kind to yourself.
Well, yes, but also like you're not enabling shitty behavior, or like you're keeping it real. Like being nice is a tool that we built for public acceptance so that we're well liked. It's a manipulation. It's not real. And yeah, a lot of times it's betraying yourself. You're having them have what they want, but you're betraying yourself in the process. So, yeah, it's a muscle, I will say. Like a lot of girls who are just trying to work on their self-esteem or their boundaries, it's like very uncomfortable, but like I teach women to do it in a really like methodical way. So like you don't go to the gym and get yoked overnight, you know, it takes going and repeating that muscle. So like, you know, maybe you start saying no with your close friends or with people that are trusted, and then, you know, by the time it gets to men, now I'm the most comfortable with my boundaries with men compared to any other contact.
When you don't have boundaries, what happens is over time, you know, you're constantly like, no, it's okay, it's fine, whatever boundary it is. Over time, you will build up a sense of resentment either towards yourself or towards the other person, or the other person will build up that resentment towards you because they're like, are you really like You're really never going to say, like, I literally can't respect you. Like, you really will put up with this. So either way, it will have that resentment because you'll be angry with yourself because, like, why can't you say no? And then towards that person because you don't actually like their behavior, but you're putting up with it because you feel mean saying no. And then again, from that person. So and then it creates drama because at one point it will break or something will happen or, you know, you might kick off at one point. And so I just think it's good to have that at the start because then it's just healthy throughout. You know 100%. What you will and will not tolerate.
Yeah, you just nailed it. Like I lost a friendship because of that.
Yeah,
you know, like it's real, and yeah, the faster you learn that, and the faster you learn how to implement the boundaries for those future relationships, the better. And yeah, less drama. Like you're safe and you're in alignment with what your needs authentically are, and everyone wins. Like
I think it also protects your femininity. Having
100%.
boundaries.
Yeah, there was a study that came out that showed that the egg actually like chooses kind of which sperm enters her or something. I don't know.
Really?
I don't want to like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, but it's boundaries. It's like,
true.
which one's going to come in. So boundaries are very feminine. I've actually had a mentor once tell me that a man's favorite part of a woman is her boundaries. Like men love video games. They love rules, what they can and can't do. Like they love figuring us out, like.
They love the chase. I've read that in Why Men Love Bitches.
Yeah, but like we're all different. We all have different needs and different boundaries. So part of the fun is like learning where they are. Like once you learn that men actually get off on you being more mean to them or having more boundaries, like then the game gets a lot better and easier. You also need it. Like guys today, oh my God, the stronger the boundaries, the better. Like seriously.
You're like a goddess. Like I literally look at you, look
up to you so much. I'm like watching you, like you're like about to like have this massive glow up in your face. You're like so beautiful. Oh my God.
Thank you. You're gorgeous. Yeah. Honestly, I just want to say thank you so much for just all the content you've put online. Like, obviously it's going to be divisive. Some people might not agree with you, some people might, but I think you personally have helped me so much, especially over the past year, on learning to love myself and learning to have boundaries in relationships and understanding your worth and not trusting everything. But yeah, honestly, I just want to say thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you I'm someone who needs like that feedback. So just even hearing you say all these amazing things, thank you so much for having me on, and that you're like, you need it. Like, it just reminds me, I work with people, I know that it's like needed. I just like, I get into my own little like other routines. And so I'm going to put more.
Don't let the haters get in the way. Everyone can have different opinions. It doesn't matter, just try and tolerate other opinions even if you don't agree. Like it's not I don't think anything you're saying is like extremely hateful at all. It's just your experience. You're talking about things that you've been through, which is basically what this podcast is about. Like I've had people on here with views I don't agree with, views I do agree with, but I never hate them at the end for it. Like we literally we'll end the call just like chatting. I can literally meet up with them or whatever it is. I think it's important to just, as long as it's not like extremely like bullying, hateful, that kind of thing, it's absolutely fine to have different opinions. All my friends and me, we disagree on so many different things, but we're still great friends. Don't hate them at all.
It's more interesting relationships. Like I don't like an echo chamber, like, it's partially why I do like TikTok. I mean, the comments are crazy, and like I have a pretty thick skin, but I think after a while, like it was just like I just didn't want to read them every single day. But I like them because it's, and I've had so many girls even who follow me. They're like, hey, I don't agree with everything you say. I have like some lesbians who follow me. They're like, I don't care about your dating advice, but like, your other opinions about this, and this, like, so it's healthy to have differing perspectives.
I was going to ask you, sorry, I forgot to ask, how do you sort of protect your mental health when because you get quite a lot of hate comments here and there. So how do you protect your mental health with that? Is that hard? It must be. I know you say you've got thick skin and you're like a strong woman and all of that, but sometimes it might get to you.
Yeah, you're so sweet. I think the hardest comments are from like women, I think, who think that I hate them or who are accusing me of hating women. Like those are the ones that hurt the most. Like literally my entire fucking platform is like for women and to be the voice I wish I had. Yeah. Like, so just people getting my intentions wrong hurts. I think, but I don't know. I stopped reading a lot of comments. I stopped I think it did me well in the beginning because it helped me kind of scale and I would respond and be kind of snarky. But now I'm just like, I don't need to do that. And, I just protect my peace by not reading them. I also have a girl that works with me. Sometimes if a comment's going, I had one video go extremely viral. like in 2021 about like my dating standards.
Oh,
I got onto
right.
like red pill TikTok and I had all of these guys just making like the most horrific like, and I'm just like, okay, like I'm aware of what this is, but like, do I want this to be in my consciousness every day? No. So like I have someone sometimes, if it gets really crazy, like go in and just call it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I know who I am. Like I know who I am. I had a nobody can compare to like my mother. My mother trained me very well for like horrible comments on the internet. No, it's like I know myself, and so people can't really say anything that like shakes up my like identity or like, you know, the kind of person I think I
Okay,
am.
that's
It's
good.
just, yeah, like, but it's still like, so during that time, then I lost my iPhone for like a week after like a video went very viral. And so I wasn't on TikTok. I wasn't reading any comments. And I felt amazing. And I was like, oh, okay. Like
Oh,
this is the
right.
contrast of like, you know, what reading those comments does. So yeah,
Yeah.
if anyone's listening and they make content and or you're scared to like share your opinion, you can really change people's lives. I get incredible DMs from the sweetest girls about just like life-changing things, girls leaving relationships, getting off meds, like all these amazing things that makes it all worth it. But yeah, you just don't need to read the hate comments or just, you know, I'm a big fan of deleting and blocking. Taking a break. I've taken a very long hiatus. I don't think I've made content since like December at this point. So but
I
yeah,
see. Yeah, because like from like talking to you even before the podcast started and everything, like you don't hate anybody who has different opinions to you. Like you clearly said at the start, you said even with veganism, you know, everybody's body is different. And what might work for me might not work for you. So if you want to be vegan, absolutely go ahead. Like even with the feminism, you're like, fair enough. Like if you want to be a feminism, of course, be a feminist.
Yeah.
And even with you know, medication, like I think you haven't said anything that is towards people. You've literally just talked about your own experience.
Yeah, which is why though I think it's so triggering because people can't say shit. They're like, oh, you know, you're not a real feminist or you weren't a real feminist or you weren't a real vegan. It's like I literally was, and these are my opinions. And so it like it triggers our cognitive dissonance. But yeah, like I have my best friend, she's taking medication for her relationship. Like I have another really good friend here who's a vegan and she's been vegan for a long time. She's an A blood type. I think A's tend to do better with like those kinds of diets. But at the end of the day, I am so averse to control and controlling anyone and being controlled. I will never be controlled, which is very conflicting in my role as a coach because I'll coach them, but like I'm like, okay, this is up to you. You know, I'm not like telling them to do anything. And it's like, but yeah, like if you want to do that and if you have all the information that you need and that's the direction you want to take your life, like fine. I'm not gonna like cut you out of my life because of that or like think that you're any whatever. So
no, of course. Yeah. Sorry, this is my very last question.
That's
very
okay.
last. I don't want to
love it. You're a joy.
What is like the coolest story or something you've had with a client? Whether that's their transformation journey or maybe a story. Obviously not giving out their name or anything we like.
Yeah. So I think the most successful client story I've had is successful because it touches personal life and business life. I've had a couple like really like remarkable transformations, but this one girl, I helped her with her dating strategy. She's the crypto finance girl.
Oh yes.
And helped her with her dating strategy. Within 3 or 4 months, ends up like meeting her soulmate. They got married, I think, within 8 months. He does very well. They like lived together on a beautiful little estate, like, and had an amazing wedding. Yeah, like it's just very happy. Like he adores her, just like worships her. Like she's very happy, and very like settled and stable, which was like, you know, different. So that's just very positive. But then I had really helped her blow up her brand. So she was a crypto co-founder, but had no brand behind her at all, no website. And yeah, I helped craft that and build that. And now she's on like Bloomberg and Fortune and yeah, like crypto. I think some Forbes 30 under 30, like just totally blew up her brand. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah. People who trust me and who trust the vision, like you know, I work really well with implementers. Like this was a girl, she did the work. I've worked with other women who will meet for like 6 months and they're not implementing. And so they're not seeing those results. But like, so I can only take partial credit. I will help you cast the vision. I will help guide and direct, but like it's up to you to like actually do the work. And this was a girl who like you know, those people who just do, I'm not one of those people. I actually sit and I like to think about things way longer, but the people who like have a lot of fire in them and who just take really quick action will see like amazing results. And she certainly like did the work. I can't deny her.
Amazing. So you're just kind of like, you know, you kind, well, I mean, that's what coach is. You just sort of give them guidance and then it's up to them. That's amazing. 100%. That must be so fulfilling and rewarding.
It's so good. It's good when you work with someone who like trusts you and who implements and you can see the change in their life. Absolutely. Like that is like, it gives me a raison d'être, like a reason for being.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's so nice. Well, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, thank you so much for your time. Like it's been so amazing. And I think, I love your energy. You have a really nice energy. Obviously you're beautiful, but you've got such a beautiful energy as well.
You're so sweet. So do you. This is like so good. I'm so glad you reached out. It was such a pleasure.
I know I've been pestering you. I'm so sorry. I've been so
No,
annoying.
I love it. I need it. Trust me. It's not pestering at all. It's just I'm like traveling and like all over the place. So I need it. So thank you. And you're a joy. You're so smart and pretty. And I'm just excited to see what comes from you. And I'll invite you to the Nice Quality program when we launch.
Yes, of course. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll make sure to link, you know, absolutely everything. Is there anything you want me to link in the description?
You can find me at the Morgan May on Instagram and TikTok or themorganmay.com. It's my website if you want to work with me.
Okay, I'll link absolutely everything. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, we just put the camera back on because we're talking about astrology. So you're a Gemini and I'm an Aquarius. Yes. That's why we get along so well. Do you know what I mean?
All of my best friends. So I'm a Gemini, but I have a Scorpio moon. So it's that air and water. I'm not joking. Literally all of my best friends, all of my favorite people, they are Aquarius sun and either Pisces moon or Pisces rising. It's this like air, water. Yeah. Wait, what's your rising? I'm curious.
My rising is Gemini. I forgot to tell you. I can't believe I didn't tell you. Yeah, my rising's Gemini.
Okay. Yeah. So air and water. Yeah. Love it. Love it. It's a good dynamic because the Pisces is like, it's just a good complement. It's like different and just all of my and we're also both a little detached but like very like heady and like thinking about things and sharing ideas.
Sure. We do a lot of thinking. A lot.
Yes, we do.
And I think we're really creative as well.
Yeah, so it's why embodiment is so important because we're so in our head. So coming back to our body helps to kind of balance that and prevent anxiety or overthinking or like
Wait, what's your rising?
Virgo rising. Yeah.
Oh my God. I actually love Virgos as well. I think there's a big misconception with like Geminis. Like there's quite a bad name. I love Geminis. Like I was telling like 3 of my best friends are Geminis.
Okay, I say that like people hate Geminis because like we've probably gotten bored of those people or like hurt them in some way because we're just like over it. But Aquarius, I never fucking get bored of. They're just like my girls, like because you guys like kind of don't care. You guys are like cats. Like I have a thing with like very needy people who like really need me and need my attention and like don't accept when I just like need to do my own thing. Yeah. So Aquarius, you guys are like that too. So like my college roommate, we're still like best friends and like she was an Aquarius. We would just like sit in silence together and just be together and like not have to do all, you know, like I've been with other people who like just need my attention or just like drain me and 100%. Aquarius energy is just so good.
Oh, I used to think this because I was like, I'm such an extrovert naturally, but I've learned recently that I do love my own time now. Yeah. Like it's become over since like the past year. Like I really value my own time now. It's crazy. And I was like, it's because I'm reconnecting with I'm reconnecting with my Aquariusness.
Yeah, it's good.
I feel like the only thing with Aquarius though, the only trait I don't think I have is stubbornness. 1 or 2 of my friends are like, you can be a little bit stubborn, Garima, but I'm like, am I?
Well, you have double mutable. You have Pisces and Gemini. Those are both mutable signs, so they're like changing.
Right, I see.
But I think the Aquarius, they're not terribly. I mean, I think the Taurus in my life are definitely stubborn and like really.
Do you think?
And Leos, but Aquarius, because it's still air. You know, air is like kind of ephemeral, whatever.
No, exactly.
Moving, so it's a good energy. That makes so much sense, though. I can't even tell you. I think it's like a total of like 5 or 6 of my like ride or die people are like Aquarius, Pisces.
Really? Yeah. I barely meet Aquarius people. Like, my mum is an Aquarius to a T. Like she's literally everything with an Aquarius. But other than my mom, I barely meet Aquarius girls.
Interesting.
So weird. Like, I really want to.
That's also why I like you. You're so fucking smart, and like, you just keep me interested. Yeah, 100%. It's the Aquarius, but I also love fire energy because it's like exciting and it just keeps my interest. You know.
Like, I
but
think
like in a
with
different
Aquarius, they're
way.
not meant to like Leos, but I like Leos.
It's not that you're not meant to like, you're actually opposite Leos on the
Right.
thing. So it's like your complement, almost like Sages are like that for me. I'm actually good friends with Sages, but I hate dating them. Oh my God, I will never date them. Their egos are so fucking big for the most part. But yeah, in my
Apparently,
history.
like people say that, like, especially with the two sexes as well, different genders are different. Like, I think I really
100%.
like Aquarius women, but I don't like Aquarius men. Like,
Aquarius men are not to be trusted. Gemini men too. Gemini men, they're the
do you
kind of guys
think this is
who,
what I was going to ask my friend? I was like, maybe a Gemini man for me. No.
although I will say I have a really good Gemini male friend. He is such a good man, but he's
Oh
also
yeah, same
fucking
actually.
crazy.
Okay.
You know, he's not like a stable, like there. Okay, and it's so funny because I always say this, and when I met this one guy, he literally did this because I met him at like a dinner party. Gemini
Yeah.
men are the kind of men who will like sit down at dinner and they'll go to the buffet and they'll choose everything that they want on their plate. Then they'll sit down and they'll look to the guy next to them and he'll be like, I want what they want. Like they're never satisfied like where they are, which is
Right,
like
I
other Gemini guy.
see.
Maybe Libra would be nice. Libra or like
See,
a
yeah,
Leo. Yeah,
I
or
thought
Aries.
that.
Aries, I love Aries are my favorite all the
That's
time.
the one thing I wanted to ask you about Aries, because I don't
These
really
all
know much about them
like very
personally.
masculine. They're kind of competitive. It's kind of like
Right.
primal energy, like but they're very exciting. Like they're like adrenaline. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the energy. It's very like fast and like they're very infatuous. Like I kind of like that, you know. So
Amazing.
maybe some fire. Although
Oh,
with your Pisces might be too much. Very
do you think?
sentimental. Yeah.
I do feel very deeply. That's the most annoying part about me. I'm just like, for God's sake. Like
No,
everything,
it's
I feel like
good.
things affect me quite a lot. Like my
Yeah.
emotion gets really heightened. So if I'm
Yeah.
like really sad, I'm like feel really depressed. If I'm happy, I'm like ecstatic, which is why I
Yeah.
started meditating.
That's good.
So I
I'm
was
the
like, it kind
same.
of
It's the
brings
water
clarity.
moon.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of us do that. Yeah. But I think
Exactly.
maybe a Leo. A Leo would be nice because they're more sensitive and yeah,
And I
for
think
you.
they know their worth as well. They're quite like
Yeah.
free. Yeah, I like them.
And they also know how to treat you. Leos will like daddy energy for sure. Yeah, I
Oh, we
dated some
love
Leos.
that.
They like take care of you. They're very generous and big hearted. Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Leos.
Oh, I think we've literally got a minute, don't we?
Okay. I'm gonna follow you on Instagram and we'll
Oh,
chat more. And
yay.
yeah, thank you again so much for having
Thank you
me.
so
You're such
much.
an angel. Mwah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a lovely day.
You too.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.